Hello everybody, Workshop Mark here. I just thought I'd do this little video because no doubt most of you have seen our video about the T25 engine conversion already on YouTube, and we did a little Wednesday talk about it also, and I tried to answer some questions. So in this video I'm going to go through a bit more detail and answer those questions for you. The easiest way to start this conversion is to have a 1.6 turbo diesel engine T25 already. The reason being is that there's a big engine brace that goes around the bottom that actually holds the main engine mounts. Now if you've got a flat engine or a flat 4 or 1.9 petrol version of one of these, it won't have that brace bar, and then you'll have to weld parts to the chassis to be able to fit this inline 4. So this 2 litre Golf GTI engine is from a Mark III Golf, and it's the later engine from the Mark III, engine code AGG. Now the reason we use this is because they're a little more plentiful and it's got the later fuel injection setup on it. The earlier Mark III engines are quite sought after by the guys that run the Mark II Golfs because it's a bit of an upgrade from an 1800 to the 2 litre. We could put a Mark II Golf 1800 in this, but again, very difficult to come by now, so this is why we chose this one. First thing to do was to strip the GTI engine down to a block and head, clean it up and give it a lick of paint. Once painted, we removed the sump, the oil pump and the oil pickup, and then fitted a brand new GTI oil pump with a new JX diesel oil pickup. Then I cleaned and refitted the original JX diesel sump. Then on with a new cam belt kit, refit the distributor and refit the JX diesel engine mounts to our GTI engine block. The next collection of parts included the oil filter housing, a brand new oil cooler and water pump. Then on to fitting the original alternator mount, the alternator, power steering pump and of course our coolant hose set and flanges for this conversion. Also some new service parts including spark plugs, HT leads, distributor cap and rotor arm. The last thing before the engine could be refitted was to fit the correct spigot bearing, backing plate, flywheel and clutch to marry up with our original gearbox. So this part here is our original engine brace. Now this brace actually bolts onto our engine mounts and then our engine mounts bolt to the actual engine block themselves. So this is only for the JX version. If you haven't got the JX version before you're doing your GTI conversion, you would need to source this and then mount it and weld it to the chassis. So we removed our rusty old diesel fuel tank and fitted it with a nice brand new fuel injection tank. This fuel injection tank has got a swirl pot in the middle. We have our fuel pump here located on the chassis along with the fuel filter, and then that goes up to our fuel rail. So the exhaust system here we had to make up, and luckily Pete managed to fab this one up for us using the correct flange, and then he used bits of exhaust that we had in stock to actually make it. And as you see, it's lovely, swoops round, and it swoops round to the 1.9 petrol tail box. And the reason we use the 1.9 tail box is it's actually got baffles inside it, so it sounds better than the original diesel one. But there are plenty of people actually, if you look online, that are now actually fabricating these for sale. So the only other thing we had to source was the universal air filter here, and this comes as part of the kit, but there are plenty of people online doing kits for these conversions, but again you could just use a universal air filter and make your own up. So the first question I had was from Selburn on YouTube, and they said no mention of the gearbox. So the gearbox we used was the original JX 1.6 turbo diesel gearbox. The reason we used that gearbox was because our AGG engine, the block is extremely similar to the JX one, so it actually bolts straight to our gearbox. Although these blocks are a little bit taller, about 19mm I think. So I think quite a few of you actually commented and wanted to know what the costing was for doing this conversion. So including sort of buying the engine and all the parts that we sell for the conversion. So I'll just go through a few bits for you. Our conversion list is quite comprehensive. We do have it available on our website. If you go to our website, it is actually listed under T25 engine conversion. So we'd start with obviously like crank position sensor, the correct oil pump, the correct coolant hoses, the correct coolant hose flanges, exhaust gaskets, obviously the correct clutch and flywheel for this engine, because we would take our Golf GTI clutch and flywheel off and then use a brand new diesel clutch and flywheel because we're using the diesel gearbox, so that lot marries up together, and then we have to put a spigot bearing in the back of the crank of the GTI engine. But also on top of that cost would obviously be the engine itself, the ECU and the wiring loom. Now obviously the engine varies in cost depending where you're buying it from. The ECU, now that depends whether you need to also do extra work to the ECU to remove the immobiliser, which we did, so that was an extra cost for us. Also, the wiring loom we were able to buy complete, pretty much ready to go. There are plenty of people on the internet that are either configuring wiring looms or you can make your own. So again, you could do a bit of a saving there. To get it here delivered on a pallet was £700 for the engine. That came with a bit of a guarantee because it had a service history with it. So we sort of knew how many miles it had covered, and it had a history of having regular oil changes. So we knew it was going to be a fairly good engine. The bespoke wiring loom, that cost us around £350. So again, that could be a saving if you do that yourself. The immobiliser delete and the ECU was around £100. And our induction kit, again, it's not something we do. So you have to either make your own induction kit or, again, there are various people on the internet that are doing kits for this conversion. I think that was around £100 also. So all in all, with our parts for our conversion list that from Just Campers, as well as our engine and parts, we're looking just shy of £2,000 for parts wise, obviously no labour involved. So a fairly cheap engine conversion, I think. So that's our Golf GTI conversion. I hope that's answered a few questions for you guys. If you still have questions that are overhanging, then please drop them in the comments below. Until next time, thanks for watching.